The instant you feel yourself losing control, go back in oxygen. That's the whole purpose of this drill. Look for the warning signs. Giddiness, shortness of breath, claustrophobia. They can hit you at any moment. Your insides will feel like this rubber glove. Now, does everyone understand the exercises? All right, you can begin the exercises now.
Little girl, pull me to the left. Little boy, pull me to the right. How bad you want to survive? I don't believe what I'm seeing. Where you been all your lives? At an orgy? Listening to Mick Jagger music and bad-mouthing your country, I'll bet.
Can't touch me, it's against the law.
You're full of crap.
Take him to the little room.
I can't take this. This is offensive.
Stop eyeballing me, boy. And the only thing between you and the POW camp is what you learned from me. You want to survive bad enough to stop me, pussy? Or are you reliant on my generosity, my love of humanity to stop me from killing you?
Fucking cockroach.
But it is what it is.
You better stop eyeballing me, boy. You're not worthy enough to look your superiors in the eye.
Well, that's where I live. It's where I used to live. It's where I'm gonna live. And not Matthias, nor his family, nor any other son of a bitch is gonna make me leave.
Principal debate. A debate on war and peace.
Get down and give me 50.
Wait, ¿por qué no? Number one, whatever. Wait.
Last time you're gonna see a bad guy like this again.
We ain't going there to talk, boy.
Behave yourself.
All right, brother. Behave yourself.
It's gonna be one of my favorites, but you were so badly behaved in that. You cursed it all over that one. It's one of my favorites.
It is one of my favorites too. I cut it short because it was
even worse.
Yeah. The worst was yet to come, as they say. So here we are, brother. You want to
look at the fat guy? Namaset.
Yes,
Namaset. Holy Spirit, Namaset.
Yeah. So, by the way, we're in my gear today. Hope you're all welcome to Adolf Biden's Banana Republic in more ways than one.
And I have my gear, Thomas Jefferson. Hope
it's very good, brother.
You should tell everybody to put on their gear if they're going to listen to the show. So if there's a gear, a gear festival.
Yes, a gear festival. Yes.
Go get your shirts, your T-shirts
you can go to our website. I'm trying to pull them up right now as we speak. You can go to our website at the beatingthematrix.com and you can find them right there. Let me pull.
Well, you do that. Look, Tubin check. I have my pants on, so you know that I am not a CNN analyst by the name of Jeffrey Tubin.
There we go.
None of that going on here. Tubin check.
Welcome. You can get 30% off if you sign up. There you go. Welcome to Adolf Biden's Banana Republic. That's the shirt I'm wearing. We have I prefer dangerous freedom to peaceful slavery. We have free Trump. And I am the anomaly. So please make sure you take the time to go out there and get it. Beating the Matrix. If you go to the website, I'm going to just pull it up.
But we need a whole new
.com. We need a new shirt.
We need totally new shirts. We need the fist raised. Trump warrior. Underneath it, warrior. Right.
Yeah,
we
warrior.
need. I was thinking too. Is can't we get a one Tubin check? Are my pants up?
Why not?
Tubin check. Are my pants pulled up? Can we get?
Why not?
None of that going on here.
All right. So how are we starting the show, brother? You want to...
is there news? Oh, yeah, I know. Here's the news this week. Ready?
Yes, here's the news.
New OJ. We have a new living OJ. Right? Alec Baldwin.
We have a brand new.
Just got acquitted on a technicality, a complete BS one, which I was going to do a whole 15 minutes on. But I guess, unless there's some other news, there's a new OJ. And every time you see Alec Baldwin, call him OJ, can I get your signature on some sports memorabilia?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Well, unless there's some other news. Is there news?
There is other news. I don't know if you're aware of what's been going on, brother. We did have.
I heard there was some noise at a Trump rally. It was reported on the the gaslighting media that there was some noise on Trump, and he had to be rushed away for some reason. I don't know why though, because I just watch mainstream fake,
You watch
fake
CNN?
news,
I know.
and I don't know what's going on. I have no idea what's going on. Tell me, brother, what happened? What happened?
So there was an attempted assassination of President Trump this last Saturday.
What?
For those of you, I'm not sure when you're watching us, but this July 13th, Saturday, there was an attempted assassination in Butler, Pennsylvania, which is just north of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, for those of you who don't want to spend the time looking it up on a map. He was wounded in the ear, and we know it was a Biden supporter because they clearly missed. Because
wait.
they don't.
James, where was Hillary?
That's the big question. That's the big question.
Where's Hillary? Where was she? If she has a plausible alibi, you know this is a complete setup. It's so sad. It's such a horrific thing. We're making light of it, but because you got to laugh when you're in hell. And this is one of the most evil things that's done. And I feel. I mean, it's so bad. Our prayers are out for, of course, to the poor hero fireman who died in front of his daughter and his families. Right, a hero fire captain died, and there's 2 people horribly injured. And of course, we never do it. Is the poor young man, 20 years old, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. Even his prayers to his family and to this poor kid, because you can't say it, but somebody put him up to this. Or somebody else is responsible, and we're going to get to the actual assholes that are actually responsible to this. One fake president who's been installed right now, but and the evil press who did this, because it's just I mean, you never want to see this. It's just horrific. It is literally like the worst possible thing that could happen, and only more proof beyond all proof that God is in control and that God is protecting Donald Trump. Thank God. So we have prayers for everybody today, except for the evil people acting evilly who need to repent and confess their sins. Except for those people. Yeah. Well, we even pray for them because we pray that they repent, right? But
now,
because
brother,
it's just
you did express, just definitely, we do feel bad for these people, but for just a moment, I would like to just have a little bit of humor. Okay. Just a little bit here. All right, here we go. Just a little bit of humor.
That was fun. That was very little bit there, brother. That was very little.
I just lost what I was looking for.
It's getting tiny or whatever it is.
All right, here we go.
Whoop.
Can you see it?
What does it say?
What do you mean they missed?
Oh, where was she? Where was she?
All right, there's another one.
Oh, yep.
My personal favorite.
That's got to be a T-shirt. Can't you come up with a T-shirt like that?
I could try. And then there's this one too, which is he's just in the way.
Right.
Proven today in Butler, PA.
Yep.
So
they would do this to every single one of us. They would do this to every single one of us if they could.
Yep.
They are doing it to us.
So one of the things we're going to do tonight is we definitely want to make the case of Joe Biden. I know we're going to play the whole thing straight through, but I do want to stop it. I do want to stop it at the one particular point that we talked about to show the other videos. So I'm going to put this without further ado. Here is the guy
President
sleeps
Brandon.
Yes, he sleeps next to the woman he thinks is his sister in the White House.
Go Brandon! Go Brandon! Go Brandon!
Lower the temperature in our politics. And to remember, while we may disagree, we are not enemies. We're neighbors. We're friends, co-workers, citizens, and most importantly, we're fellow Americans.
So that
talking point, huh? That talking point has now made the rounds.
Folks, let's focus on what really matters. We're running against the biggest liar and the biggest threat. No, really, biggest lie and biggest threat to our democracy in American history. That's not hyperbole.
Biggest lie, biggest threat. And then there's this little tidbit.
Mayor warned us about that in her dissent in that case. This is it. She noted that based on a majority decision, Trump can take out his opponents, physically take them out, take bribes, lead a coup, and be immune to ever being held accountable for it if he did it while he was president, according to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court Justice.
So just to be clear, brother, President Trump is not going to have any political opponents after he wins in November. So I'm not really sure.
Well, who the coup is going to be against, right?
Who the coup is going to be against?
Right.
Who he's not going to have a political opponent. He's going to run out his 2 terms. He's not the guy who's talking about doing unconstitutional things like packing the courts or doing anything. That's not Trump. That's this guy. But I mean, there's a case, and I would like to make the case because over repeatedly, Biden has made the case that Trump is an insurrectionist, and the Democrats in control of Congress back in 2021 made the case against Trump that he was an insurrectionist because they impeached him because of it. That was the second impeachment. And I would say this political and that he was the one responsible for the political violence against Congress. Therefore, I am now making the case that Joe Biden should be impeached for his encouragement, for his inciting violence against Trump and his political opponent, and in attempt a coup. Because if Trump, God forbid, does get assassinated, there goes his largest chance of losing, right there.
His number one rival.
Yeah,
the guy who's ahead in the polls.
That DeSantis is not going to be able to take him out. A very small margin. We know Haley, not even a close chance. And there would be complete turmoil. We would have nobody at the top of the ticket, and he would sail into victory in November. This is a complete political coup. And so, therefore, with his using, and as evidence, I would use that speech that we just, the thing I just pulled up from his speech, the talk, by the way, from Politico, which points out clearly he is going to, I'll pull that up on the screen too, so we have it. He says right here, I'm telling you, I'm not going anywhere, folks. I'm in this to the end to beat Trump. I promise you. And then he goes on. Where's the bullseye? Attack. Ah, here it is. So when done talking about debate, we're done talking about the debate. It's time to put Trump in a bullseye. That's reported on Politico. All right, Politico. And that is also from his private speech, as Politico pointed out. It was from a private speech that he had towards his his Democrat committee donors. So I would say, brother, this is very, very, very damning. And so I am now officially calling for his impeachment just on that measure. And that's 2 counts of an attempted murder of your political rival and violence against those 2 people, one who was murdered and the one who was shot. I put it all on him.
So the conspiracy to murder. You're saying that he's guilty of conspiracy to murder. If you use the same standard that they used to call
that's all I'm doing.
On January 6th, which was a riot, an insurrection, and to impeach him for the second time in January 2021. Even though Trump said, peacefully get your rights. Peacefully.
Right. I was going to say. Yeah, I was going to say, he said peacefully protest. Trump said peacefully protest. This guy is calling for a bullseye to be put on Trump, and he's calling him the biggest threat. John, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. You're a lawyer. But that sounds like to me that's something that's very much circumstantial evidence, but very much very real evidence. It's very much to the point. there's no hidden agenda there. It's straight up. Trump he's a threat to democracy, and he can have him killed. Biden can have him killed, according to Sotomayor, according to his interpretation of what Sotomayor said. To me, that sounds pretty damning.
Well, for conspiracy,
and I would make it the case.
For conspiracy, you need to prove an agreement, but you don't actually have to prove the actual agreement between them. And you have to believe. I mean, I know that's crazy, but that's what the case law says. And then you have to prove a substantial step forward to implementing it. So it would be tough to prove in a criminal law, except that we're not in the criminal law, right? And impeachment, you can be impeached for anything.
It's a political process.
And what you're pointing out is, listen, if the constitutional standard is now for impeachment, thanks to nasty Pelosi, the fact that a riot breaks out, that people take your words against what you say. Well, you make the great point that, people just taking his words on the face of their value would do this because, and here's the thing, Dennis Prager has always said, truth is not a value of the left. The thing about being a liberal is you never have to admit that you were wrong. Mm-hmm. But he also makes the point that, looking back in history, Stalin starts this. I would call this is a character assassination. This is a bitch thing. This is a woman thing. They character assassinate the person that they're targeting, right? This goes back to Stalin. So when Lenin had a stroke and somebody had to put a pillow over his head to kill him, there was a number of people that were rivals that were that were vying for dictatorship power in the Soviet Union. One of them being Stalin, one of them being Trotsky. And so one of the things that Stalin did that started this process was the character assassination of Trotsky by pointing to him and calling him a Nazi. Right, and that approved the assassination of. So it started the political assassination. From first among the other Soviets, right? But then it also allowed the political assassination, the little physical assassination by having Trotsky murdered, and that's definitely the history of communism in the and so you see that translated into the American left today, the Democrats today, not the Democrats, not RFK and the Democrats, but the Democrats, the part of the wing of the Democratic Party. There's the morals are the materialism of Darwin, the materialism of Marx, the materialism of the left, right? That has no morals, that pretends to have morals, that have no morals. You see that as indicated by the statements of the left. So they started the character assassination of the MAGA and Republicans, and you can go. I wanted you to pull up because it's his September speech in Philadelphia Hall, his disgraceful speech in 2021 in September. I mean, right before the 2022 election.
That could definitely be used in evidence in his impeachment trial.
Where he goes MAGA, MAGA, MAGA this, and he starts demonizing the MAGA supporters and Donald Trump there, right, and calling him an existential threat, and that they're an existential threat. You could pull that up and say that's again he's trying to gin up people to take a shot at Donald Trump then and do the political end of it. So you can make that argument, and that's definitely sufficient for a constitutional argument to impeach him and to have him removed as the office on the office. I would say, well, this is the weekend that they were going to replace him, right? And that still might happen because of his obvious dementia. And I was going to go on for my 10, 15 minutes this going, and listen, Joe Biden needs to stay in because basically this creep needs to lose. This creep, there has to be a consequence to his evil. And the best thing that could ever happen to Joe Biden for his immortal soul, bless his soul, right, was this lying fraudster who holds up his rosary, lies to the American people and gaslights them again and again and again, pretends to be a Catholic, pretends to be Christian, pretends to be, a reasonable person instead of the corrupt bum that he is, that he gets what he deserves, which is the biggest electoral defeat ever known to be handed to a sitting president, just because of all the horrible things he's done as president, and all the evil things he's done as president, and all the evil things he's done in his life. So I was going to come on for the next 15 minutes and go Brandon, go Brandon, go, trying to get him to survive. Look, even the fact that he's going to go out and have campaign events over the next 4 days while the Republican committee that's just not done. There are things that they consider American political norm, political norm that are not done. Listen, if you believe, I'm an attorney. I go against lawyers who don't like me, who hate me, all that. And listen, there's a certain camaraderie in the sense that we're both part of the system, and that this is due process requires that you say your part and I say my part. You're entitled to your opening statement. You're entitled to your facts. You're entitled to your version of those facts, your opinions of that, and your closing statements. Me too. I'm entitled to all that too. And the idea is that we're in a crucible of the battle, and that the fact finders, whether it's going to be the judge or the jury, they're going to determine what the actual facts are. Right? There's a certain camaraderie to that, because you can't get to the truth if one side is shutting down the other side, lying about it, and not letting them put on the truth, not letting them put on their case. That's bullshit, right? Now, there are rules of evidence that have to be adhered to at all time. Mm-hmm. But still, the idea is that get to the truth, right? And that's what the left will never do. They will never debate you on the truth because they can't. All they can do is do the bitch character assassination, right? The female character assassination of your enemy. That's all they can do, because they will never debate you, because truth isn't one of their values, right? The policies aren't one of their values, right? And that's why you're not going to see. So I was going to come here and go, so he has to survive. Now, what's going to happen is, we got to get to the actual evilness of what you're talking about. But he was going to be removed this weekend. He was going to be removed this weekend because Obama had come out against him. The Hollyweird George Clooney and the creeps and Hollyweird came out against him. The money people had stopped the money. They'd frozen half of the supposedly $250 million or whatever he had in his campaign. Half of them had frozen him. He's obviously clearly in dementia. This moron actually freed. I mean, there's 3,000. I was going to come out and make the argument. Listen, 14 million people voted for this creep. 14 million Democrats voted for him. 3,080 delegates are opposed to him. Phillips dropped out. I think Maureen, the only one that's left is Maureen, the crazy wackadoo girl writer. She's the only one left. She doesn't have any delegates.
Be entertaining. That would be entertaining if she.
I think there are like 90 delegates that are not pledged, but there are state laws that says that if you go, and I don't know the full countdown, that if you go as a state delegate, you have to vote for him. But he went on national TV and released them all. Said, yeah, they can vote their conscience. So there's going to be a contested primary, and I hope go Brandon, because this bum deserves to lose. Because listen,
my advice, John, is everyone should stay out of Chicago during the week of the Democrat.
Right, it's going to be horrible. It's going to be horrible.
It's gonna be worse than worse.
But we need to talk about the evils of this man and the evils of the Democrat Party and this lecturing that we're going to see over the next. They should be all keeping their mouth shut, right? First of all, they should do it because it's our time. It's a Republican time for the next 4 days to put on what their agenda is. Why, if their agenda is so much greater, and it isn't, why won't let the other side guys speak, right? Why won't you let the next 4 days be nothing but the Republican agenda, right? But instead, if they were smart, they would do it if they were smart. But instead, what you're going to see is the gaslighting again of America. But they need to turn down the rhetoric. All right, like it's our side is doing the rhetoric. No, it's not our side doing the rhetoric. Like it's our side that has called Donald Trump a Hitler. Now, why is it? So let's go back 4 years while he was, well, how do you want to do this? You want to go, what do you want to do? I mean,
you want to watch the rest of the video and then make the case?
You're right. Let's make the case. Watch the rest of the video.
So just so everyone knows, we're going to be inputting our thoughts over Brandon's thought, whatever it is his handlers are telling him to say. And I would just like to say before we go any further, try to follow what's being said in the subtitle or the
subscript.
The subscript. Yeah, see what he's actually saying compared to what the handlers put out on the screen, because they're not always. I mean, time-wise, they're not matching up, but the words themselves are not matching up either. So, I mean, you watch, you'll see.
We must stand together. Yesterday's shooting at Donald Trump's rally in Pennsylvania calls on all of us to take a step back.
Can you stop it there for a second? It wasn't a shooting at a rally. It was an assassination attempt of Donald President, the leading Republican candidate, right? It wasn't a shooting. It wasn't any noise. Donald Trump didn't have to get rushed off because he lost his shoes. It was an attempted assassination of the leading rival ahead on all the polls now and all the battleground states to be the next president of America. This is as bad as it gets, and he missed dying. And we're gonna put it. You have a wonderful graphic we're gonna use for the end of the show. Dying so by an inch. It's a miracle. It's only God's miracle that he is alive today. It has nothing to do with a shooting. It is nothing short of an assassination attempt of the next president of the United States of America.
And that's John, that stuff happens in banana republics.
Right, exactly. Hence the T-shirt. All right, here we go.
Forward from here. Thankfully, former Trump is not seriously injured. I spoke with him last night. I'm grateful. He's doing well, and Jill and I keep him and his family in our prayers.
Wait a minute. Look how he has his hands. Right. The first time he did this, because this is probably like the 10th time they did it, because they took hours to have him to put him through this again, right? First time he did this, he said that, and then he went. Missed him. Right. Go ahead.
To the family of the victims who was killed. Corey was a husband, a father, a volunteer firefighter, a hero, sheltering his family from those bullets. We should all hold his family and all those injured in our prayers. Earlier today, I spoke about an ongoing investigation. We do not know the motive of the shooter yet.
Yes, we do.
Jay,
yes,
what's his motive?
To kill President Trump. That's what his motive was. That's why he was doing it. Which goes to your point before about it wasn't a shooting at a rally. It was an assassination attempt. So we know his motive.
Was to assassinate and murder Donald Trump.
Yes.
When you shoot an AR rifle at a human being, you are trying to, through a scope, with their face in the scope, you are trying to murder the person that you're shooting, or at least kill them.
Yes.
If you're in a war, it's killing.
Know his opinions or affiliations. We don't know whether he had help or support, or if he communicated with anyone else.
Interesting enough, James. Interesting enough. Now, this could be, there is a conspiracy going out there. It's a deep state. And we have to actually seriously evaluate it now, because we now know that all conspiracies are potentially true. Because we know that Wuhan COVID did not come from a bat. It came from Wuhan. We know that masks don't work, that's not a conspiracy. We know that the vaccine is neither a vaccine, neither protects you from COVID, doesn't and will give you long-term, forever health problems from it. We also know that lockdowns don't work, and all those were branded as false information and conspiracies. So now we have to. Well, interestingly enough, so RFK is running around, and RFK believes, because he's seen the autopsy report, that his father was assassinated because, just like with JFK, there's two ballistic events. There's the shooting of Saran does not add up for RFK, his father, and so he's seen the ME report and says the bullets don't add up, the directions don't add up, the number of bullets don't add up, the directions don't add up. That was a setup. And if you listen to Saran himself, he put down these key markers. And it's very similar. I'm only bringing it up because it's similar to this in a lot of ways. Saran. So allegedly, Saran will say, I came out to do it because I wanted to do this because he's Palestinian, and RFK came out that he was going to send 50 Phantom. It's the same, similar in the sense that LBJ had dropped out. The number one candidate who's going to win the election was going to be RFK Sr. He just won California. Right. He just won it, right? And that meant that he was going to be the Democratic nominee, right? Yep. He just announced that in a report that there was another Israel Palestinian deaths, blah 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 blah, retributions back and forth. And then he said he was going to send 50 fighters over there. And so at the time, Saran was again a 20-year-old, some kind of 20-year-old American, right? Was at the gun range, right? And then he goes and then he makes these like these comments, which where you go, what? Right? Right. He goes to Big Boys, Bob's Big Boys, and he's eating and he's socially eating with who? That's the question, right? That's the question. Then the next thing he points out was it then somebody he's at the bar because they're all having a party, right? And somebody's giving him Tom Collins. He goes, I'm Muslim, I never drank Tom Collins before. So now he's being fed. Okay, fine. That's two facts that they don't in themselves mean anything. But then it's the third fact, right? He goes, and the next thing I hear is that somebody says that he's not. Somebody says in my ear that he's not taking the RFK is not taking his usual the path that he was supposed to take to leave the convention. He's taking a different path. And all of a sudden, ding, 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 Fed direction, red light goes on because how hard is it for it to be that some FBI piece of, or deep state operative is sitting there at the gun range, needs a dupe, mm-hmm. takes him out, takes him to Big Bob's Big Boy, feeds him with alcohol, tells him the key information he needs to say to be there, and the next thing you know, the deep state, who the worst thing that could have killed, that can happen to the deep state then was RFK, who was in charge of and battling the deep state from the position of Attorney General to be the President of the United States, right? The worst thing to happen, and all of a sudden,
the brother to the slain
John F. Kennedy, right? And all of a sudden, surprise! Mr. Saran is in the right spot at the time, and RFK is dead, right? So you look at these things, and you look at this poor young man, right? Different track, but, and I don't know, and I'm getting you getting feedback for some reason, brother?
No, I'm good.
But all right. Well, I'm getting it. I don't know if you're hearing. Anyway, look at this poor young man. He grew up. He's 20 now. That means 4 years ago. I'm telling you, I hear feedback on everything I say. Okay. I don't think I'm hearing it now. Okay. So 4 years ago, he was 2016. Was when he heard the inaugural statement from Brandon here. And it was divisive as an inaugural statement. You can see that. Go back before that, 4 years before that. We're talking now, 2016. Trump is president, right? He's a young man. That's 8 years ago. That makes him 12, right? So as he's 12, right? He goes to 12. He's coming 12. He makes that division from childhood to teenagehood, right, in the Trump era, and he hears nothing but Trump is Hitler. Trump is Hitler. They cut his head off. There's the Shakespeare in the New York Park, in Central Park, where they stab him to death, right? Trump is Hitler. Russia. All they do is spend 4 years demonizing Donald Trump. Then now listen, he goes to public school. So as a young white male, that means there's a chance that all the creepy, evil female teachers who won't let boys be boys might have put him on psychometric medicines of some kind, because that seems to be the general pattern of all these shooters, right? They tell him you're no good white boy, right? And his only path to redemption is to actually fight against MAGA and the white supremacists, right? That's his only possible path to redemption, right? He's filled with all these medications. He's a little bit unhinged. He's beat up all the time. Totally no good because he's a white male boy. You see this, he has no criminal record. From what we know already, he has no criminal record. He made a 2016 donation to Brandon on the day of the inauguration in 2016. He spent his adult life as a medical worker, as a maybe working for the food prep in a nursing home. He's everything that the left hates about America, right? They've done nothing to demonize the MAGA voter, the poor white male voter who can't get anything but a crappy job, food service job, because idiot George Bush and idiot Obama, and idiot Clinton transported all of our jobs across the across the Pacific to China. And they feed him. They do nothing but feed him with this evil information that Donald Trump is an existential threat to America, and then they okay the assassination of him by giving him out all this feeding of all this. I think we have to take it in. You go through his speech, the Dark Brandon speech in front of the Independence Hall, where he's talking about how you have to take it in your hands and stuff like this, where they're actually okaying the actual violence, right? And of course they okayed the violence for George Floyd and for Antifa. Now, of course, and we're supposed to forget. Again, go back in 2016. Go back with Obama. Go back to before that, when this kid was growing up, and the Black Lives Matter and how they okayed the violence. Remember that spate of police killings that we had. So you have those were political assassinations themselves. You had the two officers in New York City, the Hispanic officer and the Oriental officer, murdered. Right? They're not even white. They're murdered, right, by a black guy because they were the police. Then you follow the three officers killed, I think, in Louisiana, right? Again, murdered because by a black man with a gun, ginned up. By then the target was the black community, right? And then of course culminating in the 5 officers protecting a Black Lives Matter rally against the police, right? 5 of them assassinated by a black man with a rifle, again, ginned up by the left's communist in this country, to saying that it was okay to murder police officers, right? You had an actual previous example of that until it was so horrific, so obviously over the top that then that's when they first came up with the meme. Oh, we have to tone down the political rhetoric. Well, it wasn't us. It wasn't the right. It wasn't the conservatives who believe in the Bible, who believe that, you have to be humble and you don't murder people. You don't murder babies. You don't murder anybody. You don't murder black people because they're black. You don't murder cops because they're cops. So they have a track record of doing it back then. And then what did we just see over the last 8 years against this man? Russia. He's a Russian foreign agent. He's, he's paid off. He's corrupt by Ukraine, right? So he's Hitler, right? And then when he gets out of office, what do you see? You see the complete breakdown of all constitutional norms. You see the complete assault on a human being who just wants to run like we've never seen. We see fake charge of calling it an insurrection when it was just a riot, no worse than the riots that they were calling on. You see the political.
John, the January 6th was nothing compared to the weeks and months of George Floyd. $30 billion of damage done across the country. 30 dead, cops wounded. We had innocent people's lives destroyed, and it is no comparison to what happened on January. I'll put it to you a different way, brother. The people who were rioting for George Floyd killed 30 people. The people who were rioting at the Capitol got killed. They lost three people died who were the rioters. Nobody else died, despite what you hear. Sitnik died the following day of I think it was a stroke, right, or a heart attack.
Yeah.
He didn't die. That's like saying it's just impossible. It doesn't happen like that. He would have died at the moment, at the place, at the time. But you just don't get a pass on that. They've been lying about that. And I'm, a side note, very disappointed in our Congress, that a Republican Congress that isn't doing diddly squat about that to clear the matter up. They haven't done anything in weeks. Where are they? They're all on damn vacation. So that's all. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
So let's go. So let's go that. So everybody who called that riot an insurrection, and listen, it's in the First Amendment. You're allowed to assemble and address your the people's about. That's just the way it is. Too bad. Get out. I don't even have a problem with the George Floyd to the extent that it should have been peaceful. Where it should have been, just like it was when it was with the Tea Party, just like it was when it was Occupy Wall Street. That's the way it's supposed to be, right?
Non-violent, John.
Right.
Non-violent.
But anybody calling it an quote insurrection, and just to let you take a step back, what is an actual insurrection? First of all, to be an insurrection, because we have another historical example of that, all we have to do is go back to the 1860s. And what is an insurrection? An insurrection is, number one, you have to be Democrats, right? Number two, you got to want to have slaves. Number three is you got to say, okay, I'm going to declare my own country and my own legislature and my own. What? Go ahead.
Don't forget the biggest one.
What?
You got to be armed.
Right. Well, I'm getting to it. Wait. You have to get yourself organized into your own government. Maybe call it something like, I don't know, the Confederate Nation. Right. You have to get yourself some snazzy gray uniforms. Right. You got to organize yourself up into your military units. You got to grab a lot of guns, and then you got to march on Washington. The number one thing you don't do, how you know this is not January 6th was not an insurrection, leave all your guns behind in Virginia.
Yeah.
Right? Right. If you left all your guns behind in Virginia, obviously you don't want to have an insurrection, because the insurrection. Now that right.
Yeah. You're Charlie Chuck E. Cheese Schumer.
Right. If you don't want to have an right.
You don't have an erection.
Right. You up tubing check just to double check. Right. Right. So you don't leave your guns behind, right? So everybody who did that should be ashamed of themselves. They need to apologize to all of us, right? Because that's the fake demonization of your political opponent for nothing but political advantages. And whether you did it on purpose or you did it because you're too stupid not to know the difference, it has the same effect as you're greenlighting the assassination of Trump today, of Trump yesterday. You are just as complicit as the person pulling the trigger. Okay,
John. Impeachment.
And I'm not saying, this is not a blood slander. You're helping delude that poor young man, right? That's what you did. That's what you did in your job. And I don't want to hear like how we have to turn down the political rhetoric here, because we're not the ones doing it. We're not the ones calling for the assassination of Brandon. I'm over here literally going, go Brandon, survive until the election.
No, John, I think you raised a great point. We, as you haven't heard Trump calling for any kind of violence. You haven't heard in his rallies. It's always been win in November. He's not threatening violence. He says, when he talks about Joe Biden, he says he's the worst president ever. True. And
he's
talks
corrupt.
About how he's playing. True. And they also talk about how he can't even put together sentences, which is also true.
Right.
So where in that is the violence that he's saying? Where is that he's saying that Joe Biden is the threat to our country? He's not. If he brings up any type of violence, he's talking about the violence caused by the illegals that Joe has allowed in. He's talking about the rapes and murders of the women that have been, accosted by these illegals that Joe Biden led into the country. He's talking about. He's not talking about any political figure. He's talking about the evils. And when he says, what does he say to do with those people? Send them back. He's not even saying give them murder. He's not like they broke the law to get here. He's saying send them back. And so I just don't see where he's doing his rhetoric is, violent. I hear Joe Biden talking violence and suggesting, things like you can take your political opponent out and get away with it. And I also hear Chuck E. Schumer going in front of the Supreme Court and saying Gorsuch and you're going to reap the whirlwind. I hear a Democrat showing up at front of Alito's house, threatening him. Supreme Court Justice
Scalise, Bernie Bro goes and shoots. He's not shooting Democrat congressmen. He's shooting literally Republican ones.
And I want to mention, because this clown mentions Pelosi. He mentions Pelosi being attacked, right?
Yeah. That's gay thing between Mr. Pelosi
and let me tell you, every piece of evidence that they've mistakenly allowed out has pointed to the fact that this guy is a card-carrying leftist. Everything about him is a card-carrying leftist.
Yeah, that's something bad. That's something bad with that.
it's suspicious too. But the point going back to the whole thing is violence is stemming from the left. I mean, what about those Christian kids who were killed? Was it in Tennessee? I think it was. Where we still haven't heard the manifesto from that shooter.
Right. Now that's an interesting point. I'm glad you brought that up because I'd forgotten that. So one of the things is, that manifesto we have not there. So in Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee, at the school, 3 children, a 9-year-old were killed and 3 adults were killed, right? And we still don't have the manifesto. And there's a reason why, right? Because the FBI, the fake FBI, the fake investigators are holding on to it. Now, why are they holding on to it? I'll guarantee you why. Well, because in it, she detailed her diary and she detailed the evils that were being done to her by a more or less evil people, and these are the people that were in charge of her in the school system. Again, and Amy Weinberg and the creeps in the Democrat school system, right? And the people forcing transition in the medical field, right? And so probably what was happening is she was on medication, of course. They were feeding her a bunch of nonsense like this. She was rebelling against it until something happened where she fixated, because you are super susceptible to the medications, and they won't admit this because Big Pharma makes billions of dollars off of these medications, but it happens to be that the common denominator in all these young man and trans shootings is this Big Pharma connection that the FBI is now hiding from that. Why not put it all out if you really cared? There are no secrets that we need to keep from the American people anymore. Assholes. Right. The Russians have the atomic bomb. The Chinese have the rocket technology. They have the MERV technology for the small nukes now. And now over $2 trillion spent on stealth, and they have stealth fighters. You pieces of shit. You let all our American secrets go out. I don't want to hear about it. Put it all on the internet and let us find it, because you're not journalists.
One of the things, if you really want to get the manifesto or the video and audio from Biden's deposition, which that's also being hidden. If you really want to get it, all you should do is
Brando. We need Brandon alive.
If you really want any of that stuff, you should just approach the FBI and say you are, speaking Russian, speaking Chinese, and claim that you're a national of one of those countries, and you're just trying to get the information.
Or you're Iranian,
and
right?
Or an Iranian, and they will hand it to you.
Right.
No, please take it. But if you're an American citizen, no.
If you're Christian and an American citizen, you don't want the evil the Satanistic moral system put on you. They're going to point a gun at your head, right? They're going to point a gun at your children, right?
Get out of here, you fascist. That's what they'll say. You white nationalists, get out of here. Anyway, but we've spent 47 minutes on 3 minutes of video.
Well, I'm not done yet. I'm not telling you. So look what they do over. So then he declares. So Trump then declares that he wants to be president of the United States of America again. What happens, right? You have not 1, but 4 fake. Well, no, I guess there's 7 fake trials against him, right? 3 of them civil against his business.
Don't forget the other ones. They treat against the 19 other defendants and the other people part of his administration.
Completely made up. Completely made up against his business, locking up his old accountant. We didn't get all to the other people. The people are sitting in jail right now. The people, Navarro got out, I think, but Steve Bannon are in jail just because they supported him, right? Well, locking up of all of his supporters in January 6th, right? Well, put them aside for a second. Look at the bitch personal character assassination of Trump with this fake lawfare, right? The civil lawfare and the criminal lawfare against him. So the civil cases, saying he's corrupt as a businessman, completely made up, right? Holding his businesses hostages, saying this. So they redo the statute of limitations. So this wackadoo Carol, who can't say the day she was allegedly assaulted, even the decade she was allegedly assaulted, can't charge him with it, but they charge him with defamation. He has to go through that bullcrap trial, right? And for that, he has to put up $80 million, right? Then that's not enough. They to appeal, he has to put up $500 million right? All this to character assassination, because that's all you have, this female bitch character assassination, and that's what it is. It needs to be called out for it, so people can go stop when any of these evil females start going down this line, because there are a lot of evil. I'm not the virtue of any society is the virtue of its womanhood. I have 7 daughters. I hope that they're all virtuous. Every day I try and keep them to be virtuous. Every day I try and bring them to that path. I cannot make decisions for them. This is why I'm not saying I'm against all women. No, I'm against evil women, just the way against evil men acting evilly. I pray for their conversion, right? So when we hear this is all this is evil female character assassination, right? That's all. Oh, Trump's a rapist. No, he never raped that girl. Ever.
No.
She's a whack job. Just do a little investigation of your own on her. She's a whack job, right? Yeah. She can't remember what decade it happened. So anyway,
it's almost like done on purpose, John. That's almost like it's done on purpose. The fact that she can't remember that.
Exactly. Of course it is. You can't hold them accountable.
It's like we're gonna make a point that we can reach out and get you for anything, no matter how fake it is, no matter how out of date it is, no matter what lousy evidence we have, we will break you. We will destroy you.
It's literally Nancy Pelosi female character assassination, but in the lawfare way. They literally had the governor of New York change the law so that they could file that fake case against him, right? So you have that. You have those 3 cases. Then you have the 4 fake criminal cases against them. The worst of them for being a president and having presidential papers, which nobody can say anything about, and exercising his constitutional powers. For example, famously, he has the invasion plan for Iran, where that idiot Milley, who's a traitor and deserves to be tried for traitor, wants to start World War III again and start an invasion of Iran. And Trump says, no, we're not going to do that. And so that liar Milley, Joint Chief of the Staff, comes out and says, oh, I had to stop that guy from invading Iran. And Trump is like, what? No. I had to stop that maniac. Here's his freaking war plan. It was complete bullshit. And so here's the thing about Trump, too. We know in the last 80-some years, one of the best statistics about Donald Trump, 0 wars, right? 0 wars. Only Donald Trump, right? In the last 80 years, right? So who was the warmonger? So he was just doing his job as the president of the United States. He has a constitutional right to do it, write his papers, to have all those papers. Fake charges down there in Florida. Fake charges in Washington, D.C. He was president. You can't impeach him for having a, quote, coup, because who's he having the coup against? He is the president, you idiot. So they take a law that was made to go after Enron, saying you're not allowed to destroy. When Paul Krugman was that lying piece of nut job on drugs. It was the New York Times was the economist of Enron. Enron Corporation destroyed a lot of the evidence against them. So Congress came out of the law against it. Oh, well, we're going to use this law and go after all the January 6 people, which they did, and Trump. Bull crap, right? And that's the fake case they have against in Washington, D.C. Then there's the Georgia case. He's just exercising his rights in Georgia as a political opponent of Biden to see what actually is happening, because a lot of shenanigans, which we all saw, you can't take away from my eyes, the recounting of ballots. They say we're not going to count any more of the ballots at a certain hour, and then when all the Republicans are gone, keeping counting them, pulling out the suitcases full of ballots, all the shenanigans. He wants to see that investigated. It never gets investigated, and 19 of those Republicans get indicted on made-up fake charges, right? Which are going to want to get thrown up. And of course, now that we've seen the trial and all the evidence against him, the fake case in New York City, where they can't say exactly what he's guilty of, because he's guilty of nothing. He did not do anything wrong. If he had declared those funds, that money that he gave to Stormy Daniels, just to leave him alone, because he didn't have any relationship with her, because he's a germaphobe, and let's face it, he's got some germs. I don't want to say anything, but anyway, but I mean, I don't want to say anything bad about it, but if he had put it in there as a campaign if he declared for a campaign, it would have been a violation because you can't declare anything that's not actually used for the campaign as a campaign finance expense, right? So he paid taxes on it. He did not take it as a deduction. So what was his crime? Right. They can't tell you what his crime was. So the judge says to the jury, you don't have to agree. You just have to find him guilty. That charge will get overcharged again. Although I guarantee you, I think that they're still going to try and lock him up when it comes to sentencing on that. Fake. 4 fake charges. And so what do you do, though? Because then you can say it's a felon. And now a felon is being charged up there, and now that you've agreed, so now you've declared he's evil, and you've destroyed his character, and now you've declared he's a felon, right? You have a judge, a neutral jury, fake neutral jury, my ass, right? And a neutral judge, fake judge, who's completely paid off by the Democrats because his family is making millions of dollars off of this. Now you've declared that he is a criminal. You've declared he's a criminal. Now you have the green light to do whatever you want to him because he's a criminal who's now going to be potentially be president of the United States of America. So look at how they gin this poor kid up. Look at the lies they tell to this poor kid. Look at it. And so I don't want to hear anything from the fake press or this fake president that we have right now telling us how we have to turn down our rhetoric. No. These people need to repent of their sins. Everybody who voted for Joe Biden needs to seriously take a look in the mirror. And here's the thing. And we're getting near the end of this, but Brotherhood of Liberty Brother number 2 makes this great point. And here's his formulation, and it's the best formulation I've ever heard from anybody anywhere on our political situation right now. He says, the left can never admit that they were wrong, right? And here's why. Number 1, the left will never admit that they are wrong because if they did, they would have to look in the mirror. And if they looked in the mirror, they would realize they are the Nazis, right? That's actually the best political formulation from Ballistic Patriot Brother number 2 as that there will ever be that I will ever hurt. So from that, everybody who voted for Biden should take a step back. Everybody who called January 6th an insurrection needs to take a step back and look in their souls and look at the evil in their souls that would either, number 1, not allow them the critical thinking to realize that they're just being Americans being Americans, having a riot because that's what Americans do, right? Or 2, what's the evilness of your heart that you want to latch on to this evil movement, right? This Democrat movement, because that's what it is. We don't have 2 parties anymore in America anymore who love America. We have one party who believes in God and follows God and still believes in God. And we have one party, the evil party, the Barack Obama party, who wants to transform America into a socialist, communist, materialistic bullshit hellhole, right? So you have to look in your heart and you have to see that, right? And then for the evil ones, Anna Navarra and all the rest of these creeps and the fake press telling us these lies, that MAGA, and existential threat, and Donald Trump is Hitler. Listen, you're creeps. You're evil. You need to stop. You need to stop being evil because that's who you are. You are evil. We need to call them out for evil and for the evilness, because this is what you need to say to them. Are you satisfied? Are you happy now? There is innocent dead people. There is a father who was a fire chief, who was a MAGA supporter who you hate. You hated him. You called him names. He's just he's a fire captain. He was a hero. How many buildings did he go in front of? And so you don't care about Donald Trump? How many lives did that man save? And he's there with his daughters, and he's protecting his daughters, and he's dead innocently now because somebody you ginned up to kill somebody. You have blood on your hands. Are you happy now? Are you satisfied now? Are you satisfied now that innocent blood has been shed? Is that enough blood for you? You creeps, you evil people. Has there been enough death, you evil creeps? And of course the answer is to no, right? Because all MAGA is not dead. Because Donald Trump is not dead, right? These evil creeps need to be exposed for who they are. They are pure evil. And you know what? And I would say this to you. You know what? The devil is laughing at you. The devil is laughing at you because his whole job is to divide us. His whole job, that's why Brandon over here talks about unity, because it has to be unity their way, not the American way, not the tumultuous. Everybody, you have a dream in your heart. Your dream is to go forward with that dream, and it's a different dream than everybody else's. E pluribus unum. Not that America, not the Unite America. No. It's like you have to get in line like the Prussians, and like the school teaches you, and you will follow your orders, right? How dare you? How dare you not follow your orders, right? This ass has unleashed nothing that's never been released in American history before. He's committed lawfare against his number one competitor. The
John,
number one
you're
competitor.
Just making my case to impeach him. You're just making my case to impeach him. I mean, I'm all for it. I think he should be impeached.
No, Jake. Go for it. He has to. Because here's the thing: the jury does not get to decide whether Donald Trump is president or not. Right? They don't get. Their vote is 12. That corrupt judge. They don't get to decide who gets to be president of the United States of America. The final. This creep over there, he doesn't get to decide. Hillary Clinton doesn't get to decide. That bum Barack Obama, who hates America, doesn't get to decide. The dead murderer, the dead assassination attempter. God bless his family. Poor. I can't imagine what they're going through. He doesn't get to decide. They don't get to decide. You know who gets to decide? The American people get to decide. And that ultimately who's the final jury is, and that's the American system. And none of these people get to decide. These creeps who want to take Donald Trump out, they don't get to decide. And ultimately, you know how I can back that up? Because Donald Trump is alive today, not thanks to any of them and all the evil that they've done, but thanks to God above, because ultimately God wins. And so you evil people, you need to look at yourselves and realize that you are evil. You need to repent of your sins, and you need to confess your sins out openly and say, you know what? Say it. Say the Republicans were right. Donald Trump was not an existential threat of America. If you don't say that, you've got nothing to say in the political zone, because you don't care about America. You don't care about the
They're going to double down on it. The Democrats in the Congress are going to double down on it.
Say Donald Trump is not an existential threat. Say Donald Trump is not Hitler. Say it. Because if you don't, you're a liar and you're evil, and you need to be called out for evil. So that's what we need to be saying to him for the next 4 months. We need to say it. Say the Republicans were right. Donald Trump is not an existential threat. He's not Hitler. He should not be killed. Say it. Say Donald Trump should not be assassinated. Say MAGA are good, patriotic Americans. Say it, because if you don't say it, we know who your God is. Your God is your asshole, because that's who you are. You're a bunch of assholes worshiping yourselves and the devil. And the devil is laughing at you. Repent of your sins. Wear your plaques, your sackcloth. Confess your sins. Go turn back from the evil, because the devil is laughing at you, jerks. Remember, we did a whole section back in our old one, Pugnando pro Dio, Pugnando pre Dio, right? It came to the point where the apostles were after they were convinced that Jesus Christ was God, because he came back from the dead, from that, and he said, "Go out and tell the good news." They went out and they began proselytizing and grabbing up and teaching people and converting people to Christianity. They didn't call it that then, but then the Jewish hypocrites and the Sanhedrin, they got together. What do we do with these maniacs? We lock them up and they get out. We beat them and they still proselytize us. They still believe in Jesus Christ. What do we do? And the great legal scholar Gamaliel stands up and says, listen, for a number of years ago, there was a guy named Thaddeus or whatever, I forget his name, is from Judea. And he thought he was somebody. He had a bunch of followers. Then he died, and they all disappeared, right? Then there was another guy. He got up, and he thought he was somebody, and he died, and his followers to do. Here's what we need to do. We need to do nothing, because either that will happen again, in which case all these guys will fall away and nothing will happen, or it will be this. It's as if you are fighting against God, right? And so that's what I would say to everybody who voted who voted against Donald Trump, you see, and who were part of this assassination attempt, this all-on assassination attempt against. And Trump makes this point. He's just standing in the way of them to do it all to us. This is what they would do to all of us. They would lock all of us up.
Mm-hmm.
They would break our character. They would attempt to break our will by locking us up. They would attempt to assassinate our character. They would shoot at us if they could. He is literally just standing in the way of that, right? You got to ask yourself to all these people. Can you say Donald Trump was not Hitler? Can you say Donald Trump is not an existential threat to America? Can you say it? Because if you can't say that, then you're not an American. You need to get out of my country because you are evil and the devil is laughing at you. The devil is laughing at you.
Not to interrupt you, but we're over an hour now. Do you want to watch the rest of this video or?
Well, you do your thing because you have the great point to make.
I don't remember what that point.
Remember, you were going to put up the graphic. No, we don't have to watch the rest of it. But you watch you were going to put up the graphic of how close it was.
So this is to finish out the show. This I grabbed this from Facebook. This is the way. This is the moment of when he was hit. This was when the individual was aiming. And
so originally he aimed right at the top one, right where with a little drift, and a scope, the bullet would have gone. If he was looking where he was supposed to, instead of turning his head the way he did, if he was looking to where he was supposed to, the bullet would have entered his ear and then gone through the back of his brain, and he would have died much like JFK died, with his brain with a high velocity round. And if you look at the Zapruder one, the second round that they shot JFK, vaporized his brain because it was a high velocity round, like a 22 high velocity round that then dumped all his energy because it was in the brain, out the front of his brain, and that was the blood spatter, and that's where JFK's brain went. Whereas the other bullet that went through JFK bounced around, went through Connolly, bounced all over the place because it was a 30 caliber. But so he would have died much like JFK had died on the spot. But you can see instead there was a picture of immigration, right? And he goes, actually, those numbers are wrong, right? They actually got worse because he wants to tell the truth to the crowd. He turns his head, pop, and they miss. He misses right there, proving what we've said all along. God is in control.
There's a God. Yeah, God's in control. Yeah.
Only God protected. Oh, and he says, to his credit, a lot of people, even if you watch old RFK and stuff, they go blah blah blah. They won't say God, right? Nobody says God because from 1960s today, God's been removed from the public square. That's the problem. That's the other thing I was going to talk about was the 20. We were going to talk about the 2025 project and all that. Was literally just putting God back and morality back in society, right?
Yeah,
that's the original
topic of the show.
Right. We didn't get a chance to do that.
Yeah.
But we have proof positive right in front of our eyes that we all saw. And then you can see another one where you can actually, they call it the bullet, flying by him, right? Mm-hmm. Proof again that God is control.
I would say, that one of the things that, we have, what we have here is we're at a tipping point in this entire dance, if you want to call it that, of the Democrats and the Republicans. A lot of people, this is not going to be the last time somebody's going to try to kill him. We all know that we have been talking about this, and people have been whispering about it for a while now, where we're just, there was the hit set up for Mar-a-Lago when they went to go look at the documents, right? The kill orders that they were allowed to shoot to kill, right? Or something like that. That was allowed. I've heard multiple people talking about how they're going to try to get rid of him this time. This is just one more example. Yeah.
Tucker Carlson predicted it.
They failed at the legal way, and the illegal way. They failed at that. They failed at the media smears. They failed at trying to break him financially. They failed.
Yep.
Everything they've done, they failed.
They failed at impeachment. They failed at everything. Yep.
They got
this is the only thing left.
This is the last trick. This is their last trick, and it's a trick that they can do over and over again, right? Because they've mentally they've got a whole bunch of victims out there that they can direct towards.
They've ginned
like
up
drones.
Right.
Yeah, they've
right.
ginned up and like drones, and they'll go out there and they can have their hands clean. And,
They've
we didn't
they
do that.
weaponized politics against their enemies, right? That's what
for
they
violence.
do.
For violence. And we talked about this. This is so reminiscent of ancient Rome. This is the collapse.
You do the whole Rome thing? You got to do the whole Rome thing, brother.
Well, I mean, we can. The way it comes down to is, there's a Roman. So our mother made the connection that JFK and
wait. First of all, our mother, literally a first-class historian, 50 years ahead of her time, right? Who refused to do American politics or American history at all because, as she said, it takes a few centuries for everything to settle out, for history to settle out, right? Refused to, except for this, where she says, because she would teach ancient history and medieval history. That was her thing. She said this. That's why we call her first-rank historian. 50 years ahead of her time. Right. This is what she said way back then. And we have proof because all I got to do is call up a ballistic brother Luigi. And this is what he says again and again and again. Go ahead. Hit it with us.
So there's Tiberius and there's Gaius Gracchi. They're the grandchildren of Scipio Africanus. Tiberius is a famous war hero from the Third Punic Wars. At the age of 18 or 17, he's the first Roman over the Carthaginian wall in the sack of Carthage and the final destruction of Carthage. He's famous. He's well known not only from his family. His father was famous. Very well liked, very popular family. Anyway, Tiberius rides around, and here he goes through Uteria and large sections of Italy, and you should all know that ancient Rome's foundation was based off of the yeoman farmer, and the yeoman farmer went off to fight the wars and lived and died.
And it's the same yeoman farmer that Thomas Jefferson thought he was going to build the entire republic on.
Right. And so the idea is, he's walking through, and what he's seeing is these entire sections of Rome, what is Roman territory, has been taken over by the wealthy aristocrats, and they're being farmed by slaves, all kinds of slaves that are from all over the Roman world, and are brought there, and they're making the profits. And
in the big plantations, and there's no longer any more Italian.
There's no more yeoman farmer. Roman farmers. They are forced into the cities, forced to live in the cities, forced to live substandard, poor, not able to feed their kids, not able to feed their families, because while they were all fighting the wars, the Roman aristocrats were taking their land. And so a famous speech by Tiberius is very populist. He talks about, and I'm gonna paraphrase it because I don't have the exact quote, but he's basically saying all the wild animals, the bears, the raccoons, the rabbits, they all have places to live. You, as the Roman soldier, don't have a place to live. It was stolen from you. And while you were out there fighting and dying, the Roman leadership was making themselves more wealthy. They have places where they can be buried. You got the street. Basically, that's where you're going to be buried. And it's very popular with the Roman people. So, and he
tried to push some reforms.
He decided that he was like, we need to have the yeoman farmer back. And so he was going to take the public land, which was land that was owned by the state of Rome, much like our national parks are. And
much like Trump wants to do
freedom cities. Freedom cities, yes.
Right.
So he wants to. So he says we're going to. He wants to get these reforms done, and he's in the Senate, which is this legislative body. The Senate shuts him down. It's like, screw you. This is our money. We're not gonna do it. So Tiberius, and this is because his father was a plebeian and his mother was a patrician. The Scipio was mom, and so anyway, his Gracchus side of him, he runs as a pleb, tribune of the plebs, and tribune of the plebs, enormously powerful, has the ability to veto every ounce of legislation at the Senate. anything they're talking about. He can literally stand up and somebody's going to say, we want to talk about the county. He's a veto. They got to stop talking about it. That's the end of it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. He has veto power, and that's it. So he says, I'm going to veto everything. He basically says, I'm going to veto everything until I get my law passed. And they still refuse him. So he does the one thing that he knows he can do. He goes to the plebeian assembly, which he's allowed to speak into, but all the patricians in the Senate can't. They're not allowed to because they're patricians. And I'm probably getting too deep into the weeds. But he passes this. He gets the plebs, the plebeian assembly, to pass the reform. By so doing, he upsets and angers the people, the patricians, the senators. And so what they figure, we just got to wait them out for a year, then we'll repeal it. Well, talk about breaking the rules. Tiberius says, no, I'm not going to, end my every plebs, tribunes of the plebs term is 1 year. And so he said, and then you usually sit out and you're no longer a pleb.
You go to the next step to become like an athlete, right?
Yeah, you could do the Mos Moran, the cursus honorum, and you can, because he's a patrician, he can do that. He's half patrician. So anyway, putting all that aside, he says, no, I'm going to run again. And he breaks the rules. He tries to run again. And the patricians are all beside themselves. Holy cow, he's going to do this for another year. And he had also taken the money from something that was traditionally a Senate thing, but he had gotten the money even though they refused the money. So what I'm getting at is the senators, instead of letting the legal process work out and going through the legal process, they got so upset. They ginned up this reason to trying to say that he was going to make himself king. They break their stools in the Senate House, use them as clubs, and go and kill 300 of Tiberius's supporters and him. And they throw all their bodies into the Tiber, not even letting him. Now that our mother made the impression, the connection to was JFK, because Tiberius has a brother, Gaius Gracchus. And Gaius Gracchus comes into the political arena and tries to do the same thing that his brother did. He runs for the tribune of the plebs. He starts, and the senators aren't going to have it. What do they do to him? Instead of allowing the legal process to work out, letting the election happen, because in both cases, the senators had put up their own people, and they had bribed and bought everything they could, because that's what senators do in ancient Rome. They had done everything they could to get their guys elected and not.
I think they do that today too, brother.
They do that today too. They do. I'm not, but I'm talking about Rome. So Gaius
Menendez.
Gaius gets. We got to talk about that. That was also going to be something we were going to talk about this today. So Gaius goes and he tries to become a pleb, and the senators put out a bounty on him, on his head, and the bounty was, if you bring his head to us, we will give you the weight of his head in gold. And so one of the slaves that he's with kills him and cuts off his head, cuts a hole in it, and takes everything out and fills it with lead, and then takes the lead-filled head and gets the amount of gold for it. Again, the body's thrown in the river. And that is our mother connected to, he's RFK, the slain father of RFK Jr. And so that all leads to what is going to be turning Rome from a republic into an empire. Now, there's about 100 years between that and the empire time period, or Caesar, I should say. So things are happening a lot faster in America than it did back then. You went from 60 years from Tiberius to Marius and Sulla, which were the intervening dictators, but we're getting it's compressed. The time is compressed. So the point that I'm getting back to, brother, is simply put, we are turning into an empire. That is the next step of our republic. It happened. Rome did that. France did that too. it turned into an empire. It went from a republic, went from a kingdom to a republic to an empire, all within like 30 years. So we are facing the same conflict, the same problem within our own country, because we have a populist president or future president, and political violence is the solution to all of it. Now, I'm not going to go into details, but from Tiberius's time all the way to Caesar's time, violence in the streets, violence against political opponents, going lawfare against your political opponents was the norm. Prior to the Punic Wars, it wasn't. It was we're putting the state first. After that, it became we want our guys to win. So that's where we're at, brother. Do you have anything else you wanted to throw in there?
No, brother. I think we got to do a bigger thing on it. You got to write that down too, because there's all the Caesar stuff to it, and then
there's so much that I left out. It was like 20. Yeah. I could talk for 3 hours on that and go into greater detail. There's entire riots. There's the Milo's gang versus Claudius's gangs. They were in the streets. They were fighting. They were paid by the two different. There were political parties in ancient Rome. There were all kinds of things, and the whole story of Cicero and the Catos and what they were fighting for. But just a side note, what's the solution? The solution is you don't politically punish. I shouldn't say you don't physically punish your enemies. You politically or legally you go after them. These people who are going after Trump.
Right.
You don't break down.
You don't break down the moral. Yeah, you don't break down the political system and but as Adams always pointed out, this is what all the founding fathers said. They literally created a government that was divided, so divided power, so that each part would fight for its own part, would be jealous of its own power. But they said every single one of them, Benji, TJ, Adams, they all said it. But it doesn't mean anything unless you're a moral people. If you're not a moral people, meaning based on the Bible, I really got to do this nitwit Dan McClellan and the fake, there's such a thing as morality from the Bible crap. Yeah. I really got to, right. It's natural morality, cannibalism morality. But it doesn't matter. And that's what's at battle. The battle now is between the America that was created and America. The only difference there's nothing new. Everything is just the same old crap under the sun, right? Nothing new under the sun except for the life of Jesus Christ and the political expression of that, which is the United States of America. That is at battle now in our republic. It's not a democracy. And what's the avatar of it of one of it is Donald J. Trump, God's appointed warrior. God's on our side, dude, because you just missed him. And the avatar of evil, of the leftist materialism, Darwinism, communism, Marxism, Stalinism bullshit. That's one Robinette, Biden, and the Biden crime family. And you got to seriously ask yourself, which side am I on, right? Because in the end, the devil is laughing at you, and hopefully, I know me and you, hopefully, we're going to be there, and we're going to be laughing at the devil as somebody, and before he goes in, I'm giving him fucking such a shot.
Violence against the devil, John. Violence against the devil, right? Violence against the devil. All right. Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is our show, right, brother? I hope you enjoyed it. Please make sure you tell your friends about it. Make sure you take the opportunity to check out our website and also
buy a T-shirt.
Buy a T-shirt. We always greatly appreciate it. Welcome to Adolf Biden's Banana Republic. And on that note, brother, God bless. It's all good.
Because God loves you.
Because God loves you. Here we go.
What's your view on homosexuality?
Yeah, I am mindful that we're all sinners, and I caution those who may try to take the speck out of their neighbor's eye when they got a log in their own. The great threat to civilization is that a few evil men will multiply.
Worse than horrible, because a zombie has no will of his own. You see them sometimes walking around blindly with dead eyes, following orders, not knowing what they do, not caring. You mean like Democrats?
The fact that somebody decided that they would go ahead and leak classified information.
Failure to communicate.
Yeah, you don't need papers for voting. You don't need to be a registered voter to help.
Now, this is worse than a third world country.
I'm beginning to